what I'm about to discuss is absolutely critical for people who are searching for authenticity and self-assuredness. And I just want to tell you a couple stories from my own life about times when I have and have not done this and how it has impacted me. So the first one was leaving my job. Absolutely incredible for my self-esteem, propelled me on a track where I convinced, and this was incredible. This was just pure conviction. Without really even trying, 9 other people, including Ben, my brother, people that I'd met just for a few hours, to quit their jobs, drop out of college, and move with us to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, to start this new incredible life. And it was a cult-like following. Not that they were necessarily centered around me, but this vision that I had held and painted of this amazing life that we were going to have in Brazil was so compelling that all these people, including one that I met at a class, spoke to him for about a half an hour, had just moved to New York. He left everything behind, moved in with a bunch of strangers to Brazil. It was this kind of magnetic pull that was had when I started living in line with my own values. But there's a flip side to that, because I saw incredible propulsions in my life. This is where Charisma on Command came from. This is where the YouTube channel started. This is where almost all the amazing things in my life began. But one of those amazing things happened to be dating someone that I was crazy, madly in love with. And not at all her fault, but after 2.5 years of relationship, at some point that relationship became codependent and toxic for both of us, but we were both afraid to admit it and afraid to leave it. My friends would tell me as much in their own subtle and not so subtle ways, but because I was so afraid to leave this relationship because I didn't want to be without this particular woman, I made excuses for myself and for her. I talked about how the fights that we were having weren't really an issue. I minimized them. Some of them I never really even brought up to my friends. And all of this internal deception, which was then spread to the people around me, resulted in what you could only describe as a charisma depression. Everywhere in my life it was affected. I alienated myself from some of my closest friends. Even when I was meeting people, that spark didn't seem to be there. The business still was catapulting, which I'm very lucky for it. But I wasn't feeling it. And quite frankly, when I was making videos, I was having to draw on old material because I wasn't growing. So I was just having to tell stories from previous eras of my own life because at this point, it was so darn hard to see and do anything personally that was in the direction of charismatic growth. Now, that relationship eventually did end after many false attempts at ending it. And when it did, it was devastating. It was so hard, emotionally gut-wrenching. But at the same time, something came back, and it was this sense of integrity, of honesty. Because as much as I loved this and still tremendously care for this particular woman, I knew that what we had wasn't working. And when my life circumstances started to match what I knew was right in the long run, I created again that opportunity for self-esteem to rise, for integrity to blossom, and for honesty to be the way that I operated, not just in what I said, but in how I lived. And I tell you this not just to tell you my own story, but hopefully so that this jogs something in your own mind. Maybe it's not a relationship that you need to leave. Maybe it's a workplace. Maybe it's something that you need to step into. But whatever it is, ask yourself, is there something like this in your own life where your purported values do not match the way you live? And if there is, maybe it needs to change.